Wow, guess we got two videos on censorship this week. If there are two things that go together better than a rotting corpse and maggots, it's censorship and the CCP. It looks like trying to pander to the Chinese market is getting harder and harder for video game companies, thanks to some new dogmatic rules from the CCP. Some of the things that are not allowed, according to this, are absolutely insane.
Enforcement of guidelines is likely to be considerably more detailed and stringent. Censors, for example, may not approve of games depicting a fictitious post-apocalyptic world in which players are encouraged to kill. The memo states that some games have blurred moral boundaries. Players can choose to be either good or evil. But we don't think that games should give players this choice, and this must be altered. If regulators can't tell the character's gender immediately, the settings of the character could be considered problematic and red flag will be raised. The memo also says that games about gay relationships and effeminate males will likely be censored.
So I guess if your game contains traps, and you're trying to sell your game in China, you might be fucked. Wait, does this apply to Genshin Impact? Venti might be in trouble, hashtag free Venti. Because, no lie, I thought Venti was a girl for the longest time, just going off his design until somebody said he. Also, the other rules, does that mean any sort of BioWare game is now banned? Because you can do some pretty fucked up shit in Mass Effect, since, they have the Paragon and Renegade options. Hell, every goddamn RPG on the market is not going to make the cut now that I think about it. And no post-apocalyptic games either, so I guess any future Fallout games are not coming to China. Shit, you just banned like 90% of video games right there. Because so many games are set in a post-apocalypse and give you moral choices. Some people, I've been mostly seeing this on Twitter, have been pointing out that AAA games might start dialing back on the whole LGBT thing because of this, because if these rules are anything to go by, China is not a big fan of this. So I guess we'll see if they actually give a shit or just include it for brownie points with the woke crowd. There's more though, and it gets weirder.
Additionally, it's stated that games that explore history are a minefield for game makers, and that elements like characters, maps, and items should all be consistent with modern narratives. According to the memo, games can't distort facts or deliberately provoke controversy, and historical figures with established narratives must not be refashioned. The memo also warns that games that encourage players to murder barbarians may be subject to examination for propagating colonialism, while games that feature Japanese warlords may be considered to celebrate militarism and jingoism, according to the document.
First of all, I'm sorry. Saying you can't distort facts or refashion historical figures is rich, coming from a country that spouts propaganda 24/7. Like, you mentioned China at all on YouTube or Twitter, there will be an obvious bot account showing up in your comments or your replies. I know, I've seen it. Did a video on the beta version of Steam's China client. The only comment there is from an account that I'm pretty sure it's a bot. And its comment has absolutely fuck all to do with the video, but it's just talking about how awesome China is. There's a certain event that you are not allowed to mention in China, or else your ass is probably going to disappear and you might not come back. It starts with a T and ends in a square if you're curious. Remember how much backlash gets drummed up anytime someone mentions that Taiwan is a country and not part of China? Yeah, the CCP gets real ass mad about that. Just ask John Cena. He should know. He did that pathetic ass apology in Mandarin because he even mentioned Taiwan very passively, because it threatened the profits of Fast and Furious 9. So they only want you to show history in a way that they approve. Also, the colonialism thing is rich, considering, Tibet and how China keeps wanting to conquer Taiwan. Ain't that the pot calling the kettle black? I mean, I'm just saying. I actually look up what jingoism is because I have never heard that term before in my life. According to what I found, it means extreme chauvinism or nationalism, marked especially by belligerent foreign policy. If I had to take a wild guess, it probably has something to do with some of the, shall we say, less than friendly historical interactions between China and Japan in the past. But honestly, that's just me making a wild guess. I have no idea. Now, this might sound weird and kind of awful, but hear me out. We need to decouple from China, not just in video games, but just everything. Just so we're keeping score here, this is a country actually putting Uyghur Muslims, I hope I said that right, in concentration camps in the Xinjiang, I think that's how you pronounce that, province, and other places too. A lot of these companies want to do business with that, but then they want to turn around a virtue signal over here about how much they care about minorities or human rights and all that shit. Remember when Disney thanked the CCP and filmed in the same province I just mentioned where the Uyghur Muslims are being held? Pepperidge Farms remembers that shit. So I just find it funny whenever any of these companies wanna act like they progressive and shit over here, and then, you know, they dead silent everywhere else where it's like not allowed or just not status quo or whatever, approved or whatever you want to use. But going back to my point, what I'm hoping is that China keeps employing more dogmatic rules against like video games or movies or television, all this kind of shit, you know, all the entertainment stuff at least. And I'm just hoping that it gets so ridiculous that everyone just realizes jumping through these hoops and hurdles, trying to appease or cater to this government is just too ridiculous. They just pull out and say, fuck it, we're not gonna cater to China anymore. The CCP has got their tentacles in everything, and it really needs to stop. But that is a whole other rabbit hole. That's a whole other can of worms that I am not about to go down. Just to be clear, I do not like censorship whatsoever, and I do not like what the CCP does and is doing. I'm just saying that might be the silver lining if these draconian rules just keep getting worse, and it just forces these game companies to just stop catering to them, and maybe they'll start making better games for everyone else who doesn't live in a dystopian nightmare. That might be a long shot or wishful thinking on my part, who knows? That's just my 2 cents on it. I will link the article below if you want to give it a read.